What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Awards Report. We have some crazy amount of updates to talk to you about regarding the Toronto Raptors. They are being linked to two different players. There are also some huge news this morning regarding Nick Nurse's future with the Toronto Raptors, and also a new team linked to OG Anunoby as well. So I'm going to be breaking down all of this stuff for you guys in today's video. So if you're ready to watch this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you wish to hit the subscribe button as well, that would be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and the shout out for today's video goes out to Amit the GOAT. So Amit, thank you so much for supporting this channel to your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. Now let's talk about rumor number one here. Shout out to Real GM that was reporting this on Twitter, and this was being reported by Shams Charania. That Pacers, Spurs, Raptors, Jazz interested in Jalen McDaniels, and the article went on to state here that the Charlotte Hornets are taking calls for a lot of those players, and one of those players could be Jalen McDaniels. They also went on to state that the Pacers, Spurs, the Jazz, the other three teams beside the Toronto Raptors, could pursue McDaniels in free agency rather than trading for him now. Now, obviously, if the Raptors are serious about trading for McDaniels, it would be best to try and trade for him now rather than wait for free agency, not only because those three teams can easily outbid you, but also because the Raptors don't have a lot of cap space to work with this offseason as well. So by trading for him now, you can re-sign him before he even hits free agency. But for those who are not familiar with Jalen McDaniels, let's take a look at his stats to kind of give you an idea of what the Raptors would be acquiring here. Now, taking a look at Jalen McDaniels here, you'll notice he's listed at 6'9". So yes, he fits in with the Vision 6'9". He's 205 pounds. He's listed as a small forward. He's 24 years old, at least for one more day. Happy early birthday to Jalen. He's going to be 25 tomorrow. And as you see there, he's putting up pretty decent amount of stats. 11 points, 4.9 rebounds, 2.1 assists. 45.8% from the field isn't too shabby, and although his three-point percentage is down, he has in the previous season hit the three-point ball at a really efficient rate. Although he is only taking about 3 to 4 attempts per game, it's not a high volume of attempts, but he's also a really good free throw shooter as well, which is something the Raptors clearly need. At 84.4% is really good for him. The only question with this is, again, the Raptors need floor spacing, so essentially you acquire another player in Jalen McDaniels, who's a really good defensive player. But then you have one more player. You're essentially, I'm not comparing him to Chris Boucher, but comparing the size-wise, you're essentially having another Chris Boucher, younger Chris Boucher with better defense, adding to the team that needs shooting. So again, that's the only question you would have in terms of if the Raptors do acquire him. But the bigger question would be, what would you potentially give up to the Hornets that could entice him? Like, there isn't a lot. He's about to be 25. Think about guys that are 25 years old. You ideally would probably have to give up a first-round pick, and I don't know if the Raptors are in a position where they want to trade their first-round picks for someone like a Jalen McDaniels, unless it's a three-team deal where potentially Gary Trent Jr. gets moved and they look to acquire someone like a Jalen McDaniels. But even then, again, it could be one of those players that you could acquire to have him come off the bench next season, depending on what happens with OG Anunoby as well. He is listed as a small forward, so potentially you could use him in the starting lineup as well. But let's talk about Nick Nurse here, because obviously that is a huge topic of discussion today. Now, this was also being reported by Shams Charania as well. Shout out to Vivek Jacob that was reporting this on Twitter. He went on to state that Shams with some details on Nick Nurse's future. Some of the frustration of the season being directed at him is to be expected. Everyone should be held accountable. And this article went on to state, what's more, Nick Nurse's future as Raptors head coach is expected to come into focus this summer, when sources say he will be entering the final year of his contract going into next season. After the 2019-2020 season, Nurse, who guided the Raptors to the 2019 NBA Championship, won Coach of the Year in 2020 and is regarded among the league's best head coaches, signed a contract extension to 2023-2024, but worth about $8 million per year. The length of the deal has not been previously disclosed by the team. There's been frustration through the roster and staff with the team's play at points of this season, and that's been directed towards Nurse at times too, according to sources. Now, obviously, this is a huge discussion because ultimately, I think Nick Nurse's future highly depends on what Masai Ujiri decides to do at the NBA trade deadline. If the Raptors decide to blow it up and they want to all of a sudden rebuild, I don't know if Nick Nurse, if I'm being truthfully honest, I don't know if Nick Nurse is a head coach you maybe want to move on with forward. I mean, he's a really good head coach. Let's be honest. Let's not discredit him and throw shade at him because the Raptors have not been playing well this season. A lot of that fault has to be blamed on Masai Ujiri as well. For a team that has no center at all, how do you expect to win games in today's league? You have no shooters off of the bench. how are you supposed to win? So again, I understand the frustration with Nick Nurse as well. I do, again, the partial blame does have to go to him because at the end of the day, guys, players are responsible, coaches are responsible, the executives and front office is responsible as well. And I think one of the biggest issues with Nick Nurse has been the amount of heavy minutes he has been playing his starters. We saw that last season, where in the middle of the season, he started doing 7, 8 man rotations, and we all started laughing, saying, this is not for real. And it's so sad that it's honestly become a norm at this point where people don't even budge an eye when he does that. He does that on a regular where he's playing 8 man rotations. And normally that eighth man is typically playing anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes a game. So you're essentially running a 7 man unit, which is absolutely insane to think of, because looking back at the Tampa season with the Raptors, remember, we didn't have enough players to dress for the entire game. And we were all of us fans, we were thinking, wow, we're playing 7, 8 man rotations. And now fast forward a few seasons forward, and now that's become a norm. So again, Nick Nurse has got a style of play which is very similar to Tibbs in some ways. Defense first, plays his guys heavy minutes, and that's just not sustainable. In fact, I want to show you this tweet here, and shout out to Kritika on Twitter as well, that stated that Pascal Siakam has played 582 minutes in January, the most by any player in the NBA. He's played 28 more minutes than the player with the second most, Gary Trent Jr. So, I mean, what does that tell you? Like, people have been shitting on Pascal Siakam, who, by the way, he's been playing a little bit worse than what he started out this season, but it's not like he's been playing that bad. He's still hitting 20 points almost every single game, and he's doing some good things around the basketball as well. I know he's slowed down a little bit, but that just goes to show you, like, you're going to wear out your players. Nick Nurse, he needs to have a little bit more trust in his bench. And I know that blame has to go on the front office for not providing a center, not providing a good bench as well. But look, Nick Nurse, you got to work with what you have, and I think partially the blame has to go there. So honestly, I think the Raptors should keep him, but we'll see what happens. It all depends on what the Raptors decide to do at the NBA trade deadline. But there's also some other news to talk to you about as well. Let's go to the next rumor here, and this was Legion Hoops on Twitter. Again, all of these are being reported by Shams Charania. I just want to state the Raptors and Celtics are amongst teams expressing interest in Jakob Poeltl as well. Now, this should be no surprise. The only question is, like, even if the Raptors, I think, decide to retool and decide to blow it up, you do need ultimately a center as well. I know people are going to streak Christian Koloko, guys. He's simply not ready. And although the idea of Precious sounds amazing at the starting position, and I wouldn't be opposed to that, I just think you need someone that's a little bit more taller, just someone who's able to block shots ahead of guys like KD, for example. So again, I think Jakob Poeltl would be a great player to have. And for one of the many reasons I saw this, I believe it was Yahoo Sports on YouTube. Shout out to them as well. They were stating Jakob Poeltl is one of those players that you can start for 20 minutes and you can play him 20 minutes the entire game. He's not going to be complaining about his playing time. So again, that pretty much allows you to play Christian Koloko as well. So it's not one of those cases like where you're acquiring a DeAndre Ayton, for example, where he has to play 30 minutes or he's going to be upset. So Jakob Poeltl is very flexible. He's a team first guy as well. So I'd be okay with that. But let's talk about our last rumor here. And this was being reported by NBA Central. Again, Shams Charania. The Knicks and Suns are among the interested suitors in OG Anunoby. Now, the Suns are, I believe, the new team. Knicks have been rumored for pretty much these entire OG Anunoby rumors. But taking a look at the Suns roster here, I'm going to be completely honest, guys. There isn't a lot they can give us. Obviously, we know DeAndre Ayton is a name that has been linked to the Raptors, but that's $30 million. That's $12 million more than OG Anunoby. So the Raptors would have to throw in OG Anunoby and Chris Boucher for DeAndre Ayton. That does not look like a good deal to me. Even if the Suns do throw in first-round picks, I'm not quite sure how many first-round picks they have. Again, the logical player on this list that makes sense is Mikal Bridges. I personally don't see the Suns giving him up. And you may ask why. And I think that's simple, because if you're trading for OG Anunoby, you're pretty much signaling that you're building it around some of the young guys like Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, both 26 years old. OG is 25 years old. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Suns to trade Mikal Bridges for OG Anunoby. Personally, that's what I would want, and I would want way more on top of that as well. So again, I've talked about the Knicks in the past, guys. This OG Anunoby rumor is almost becoming like that Kevin Durant to the Raptors rumor in the summertime, where it just seems like it's being very repetitive. Obviously, seems like a lot of teams are interested in OG Anunoby. Does not necessarily mean the Raptors will trade him, though. I'm very interested to hear all your thoughts on this, particularly the Nick Nurse thing. I know a lot of fans have quite a bit to say about Nick Nurse. I'm very curious about your thoughts. So make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, I do have a trivia question for you today. And since we're talking about Nick Nurse, let's talk about how long Nick Nurse has been with the Raptors organization. Is it A5? Is it B4? Is it C7? Or is it D10 years? So how long has Nick Nurse been with the Raptors organization? Let me know. Whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video, guys. I'm sorry if I slurred a little bit through the video. I've actually had not slept the entire night. I was so excited about the Raptors. I've been on my phone all night refreshing Twitter. But if you're still watching this video, guys, if you share the same passion as basketball, make sure to hit the subscribe button as well. And that will be it for today's video. So thank you so much for watching this video. And I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.